I like digging around at the junkyard. It relaxes me. Noodle around, dig through the glove boxes, look under the seats, see what possibilities are still in the things that people threw away. It's like reincarnation. There was an old Ford Granada. Terrible car, late 70s as I remember. The back was all smashed in. It drove to the accident, as they say at the junkyard. Good parts under the hood, all that, but not really a car anymore. Now a loose association of parts. After they've been stripped, most end up in a compactor, but before you can squash it, you gotta clean out the trunk to make sure that there isn't any toxic waste or whatever in there. You wanna make sure that there isn't a suitcase of money either. Both of those things have been found in trunks. Get rid of the spare tire. You also wanna make sure there isn't a dead body. So you can imagine the surprise when that is exactly what was found in the trunk of that old Ford. It was in a beautiful little box, tow-colored, like the sexy lady in Goldfinger, about the size of a standard knick-knack, but heavier, kind of shiny, very majestic. I opened the top. There were 2 pieces of paper and a set of very burnt military dog tags. One piece of paper was from Chaos, a handwritten poem. The other, an official document from Control, a death certificate. Under them was a plastic bag with a twist tie, but a twist tie of a quality I had never seen before. In the bag were the cremated remains of Ulysses Vergelli. Now think about how this happens. Ulysses dies with no heirs, and a friend is presented with the remains. Maybe a relative who didn't even know him came to pick him up. When you're a veteran, they pay for the cremation. The remains go into the trunk. And on the way to the funeral home, the car gets into an accident. Or maybe they were in that trunk for 7 years, or 17 years. He died on January 18th, 1983. There is no way to know the story, really, but I couldn't stop trying to put it all together. There's one fact that I did know. Ulysses had no service, no funeral, no memorial to his life. He was thrown in the trunk of an old Ford and forgotten, like a pair of jumper cables. I imagine he worked hard. A machinist at the Navy Yard, maybe. His wife died before he did. I imagine that their son was a deadbeat. Maybe he was from Atlanta before he relocated to SF after being stationed here in World War II. Or maybe he was from Meridian, Mississippi. With a name like Ulysses, he was likely from the South. I imagine he died of lung cancer after smoking Pall Malls for 70 years. A slow, agonizing, lonely death. And the shame and degradation of not having a proper funeral. I took the ashes to the Odeon bar and put them on the shelf above the whiskey and waited until Bloomsday, June 16th, to give Ulysses his rightful event. I gathered together a table on the stage and I transferred the ashes of the golden box into 50 or 60 smaller Ziploc bags. I put a few bar candles on the table, took off my hat and asked everyone to please be quiet for a moment, and I began to speak. I had no idea what I was going to say, really. I never do. I just kind of wing it. Not being an actor and all, I just started talking. I talked about the kind of people who owned Ford Granadas, that I thought that would be a good place to start. My first proper girlfriend drove a Ford Granada. Of course, it was a hand-me-down from her dad. It was like the official car of men whose pants chafed their armpits. I talked about how, no matter what it was, what it cost, or how coveted it was in its life, in death it all gets processed at the junkyard as one of 4 things: precious metal, non-ferrous metal, ferrous metal, or garbage. That's it. Your laptop, your iPhone, your $3,000 54-inch LCD TV, all in like piles, moved around by forklifts. I talked about how every once in a while something comes to the junkyard that's simply amazing. A 1950s fat jiggling machine, a gynecologist's examination table. All the guys do the same thing, they scratch the seat and sniff. Sorry. Sometimes things that come to the junkyard don't make any sense, like hundreds of 9-iron golf clubs, or 3 trucks full of booth displays from the Irritable Bowel Syndrome Seminar and Conference. I told them that sometimes you'll find a gun under the front seat, garbage bag of pot in the trunk. Jericho found 1,000 records in a car once. The driver was killed by the accident. There was evidence. He still DJs those records to this day. Sunglasses, umbrellas, toys, tools, maps of strange places, really old gum, Newports, and now human remains. Thus far, Ulysses was the first human remains discovered at the junkyard. As I was talking, I noticed that people locked eyes with me. I was talking, but I really wasn't. I was starting to think about who was saying these words, what ideas I was trying to convey, and why, and how. I was a witness to what I was saying, spinning my web, drawing them in, holding the mic just like that. The lights were bright in my eyes, which is unusual. Usually the brim of my hat touches my glasses. I put my eyes in the shadow so I can see the crowd, to make sure the doorman isn't putting the money in his pocket or someone isn't drinking from a flask. I was holding my hat to my chest and almost, but not quite, was able to float into the audience and disengage completely and just be a witness. But then I thought about it too much and I broke the spell, and it was I that was talking again. I noticed my timbre, my tone, my meter, all perfect, all eyes on me. No one raising their glass to drink, no one ordering at the bar, no arms folded. I had them. It's a powerful place. I wanted their compliance. I told them that we take care of our own down at the junkyard, and the junkyard is sacred space, and that human remains found at the junkyard get proper burials. I explained to them what was going to happen, what we're going to do. We're going to have a moment of silence. We're going to light these candles. We will then bow our heads and appreciate the ineffable is. We are going to raise our glasses and salute the man who aged 80 years and outlived everyone he championed. His funeral was postponed, but now we're going to make up for that. I cracked a whippet capsule and inhaled deeply into my lungs, and I held my breath. My 6 senses melted into one antenna, and in that other universe, that moment of silence lasted forever. In that other universe, we are all still there at 3223 Mission Street with our heads bowed forever. In that other universe, Ulysses will always be young, operating the lathe with squinting eyes as the smoke from his cigarette creeps up his face, as we light candles in his honor. We toasted, and one by one, the people approached the stage and took one of the small plastic bags containing the last remaining corporeal form of our new friend, Ulysses. To the far corners of this cruel, cruel world, I told them. I asked them that the coffee-powered overachievers who are the denizens of the city of art and innovation take his ashes to the winds hither and fro, and that's where Ulysses ended up. In the coming months, I would receive the occasional postcard or email reporting that Ulysses was let go to fly off the starboard side of a sailing vessel in the middle of the Atlantic. Ulysses was dumped over the edge of a tram car in Switzerland, on the plains of Mongolia, the steppes of Peru, in the sewers of Cuba, a volcano in Costa Rica, snorted a bit by Torah before his friends stopped him. I personally left his ashes at the Renbok Monastery in Tibet and a sprinkle in the treasure chest that I buried my beloved Damatina in. And now the poem that was in the box that I found. Goodbye, sweet Louis. Thy life was but a balloon in the hands of a child. Let go to fly. Watch thy spirit soar to the skies. Goodbye, goodbye.